Good morning and welcome back to Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN Television, a show where we talk about trendy things, we talk about varieties of things and bring topics that you really want to listen and talk about. Today we are going to do SEM and I believe you're going to enjoy the show. While you wait, my name is Glory Emmanuel.
And my name is Ikhonede Joshua Deji. Welcome once again to Daybreak Africa on this very cool Thursday morning. All right, welcome back from the reports. Now it's time to go straight to our discussions. If you were following Daybreak Africa for some time, you will discover that we have been communicating these to us. And as of 2 days ago, the implementation of the data tariff hike, just started, and yeah, the reality actually dawned on many Nigerians, looking at the fact that some of your favorite networks as we speak has increased their price, so you're paying more for data. And the thing was that immediately it happened, social media went berserk. A lot of comments, lots of war, backfoot and all that, talking about the fact that the inflation is already very high at the moment, and now we're having what they call the data tariff hike, which makes us buy data, which is one of the most precious common commodity of almost every youth in Nigeria. Today we are buying it at some prices are even way out of the agreement, because the actual agreement was 50% hike increase, and there were some networks that the package we were buying 2,000 from them has become 6,000 suddenly, making it 150%. So it seems as if it's an uncontrolled increase instead of the actually agreed 50% increase, which has left many Nigerians to ask a lot of questions. And on Daybreak Africa today, we'll be discussing strictly this particular topic, the hike in data tariff. Today, public affairs analyst is with us in the studio in the person of Adegbeyeni. Abiodun, welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you too as well. So we're looking at this. I remember the last person we discussed this with was Afonso Suchina, and we talked about the move itself. Then it was still speculated. It was still something that was at the table of the federal government in discussions with the telecom industries, the telcos themselves, and now it's implemented, and we saw what happened on social media for the last 2 days. What was your take in the first instance? Let's start from the background. When the federal government was accepting to agree to a 50% increase in tariff for data within the country?
Well, the first thing I want to say is this, like you rightly mentioned, there cannot be an increase in data tariff without an approval. All right, that means before the government gave
directive,
the approval, the government did not think about the aftermath, the effect is going to have on the citizen. So imagine, even initially, while we were still paying the initial amount, you discover that the bandwidth for data transfer for most of these telcos,
yeah,
they are very, very infinited, very poor. Now you will be using poor network and you still be paying higher. So I think that is a insensitivity on the part of the government. And like you rightly said, I've always thought that beyond ranting on social media, venting your anger, like Nigeria, an average Nigerian is always known for. When are we going to say enough is enough? Just give it few days, everything will die down. Like you said, everything, people are just going haywire. We cannot take this and that. At the end of the day, what are we going to do? It may interest you to know that even despite the fact that it was MTN that announced yesterday that maybe a 15 gig of data has skyrocketed from 2,000 to 6,000 naira. I have a platform where I used to do data. Initially, if I want to do 2 gig, I do it at the rate of 580 naira. So when I check yesterday, even for Glo backup, it's now 780 naira. So virtually all the telcos, they have increased, even though maybe I've not seen any press release or statement as to that effect. I've only seen that of MTN. Yeah. So to me, I think it's wickedness. At a time, like you rightly mentioned, I think a vast majority of Nigerians use data as a means of, it doesn't matter how expensive your phone is. If you don't have data on it, like this mantra of Airtel, they say data is life. So if data is life, you are now increasing data tariff. Does that mean you want to take life? So what people are using to just, enjoying themselves and you just want to take it. But I am not surprised. The president, when he was campaigning, he promised 3 things. And I can tell you that he has been doing that 3 things, hook, line, and sinker. The first, widen the tax nets. The second, slow down the economy. And the third, reduce the purchasing power of the people.
Well, I think that was a terror. Yeah, with this colloquium some years ago, actually.
You said terror?
Well, it's
you could call it a paraphrasis, or what we call a Freudian slip. So people might term it a mistake, but a Freudian slip, when you make a statement, it shows the true intent of the speaker. So you say you want to slow down the economy. Today, our GDP is less than $250 billion. As you know, I mean, different from what we have about 2 years ago, which was more than $500 billion. So you have reduced the purchasing power of the people. The question is, how many people, as at today, are able to afford data? So it's insensitivity on the part of the government. I think that's all I can say, and people are reacting accordingly.
But don't you think it's also on the part of the capitalists, the ones who owns these telcos themselves? Because even if it was up to the telcos, the first thing they talked about was the fact that they wanted to make it 100% increase. 100% was their mentality based on their increase, and at the end of the day, the federal government, through negotiations, said okay, 50% is what we can approve for an increase. So don't you think on their own part too as well, the fact that they always want to gain? Because if we're talking about telcos, we remember that there was a time in this country, though many Gen Zs will not be able to relate to this particular statement, we bought SIM cards at 50,000 naira, 90.
It was even more expensive than
way
phones.
More expensive than phones and all that, by these same telecommunication companies. And I've seen this trend in Nigeria lately, especially when it comes to many of these companies, either foreign investors, local investors. They tend to take huge advantage of the economy of the Nigerian people. Many of the times, this kind of services, they don't even run it in other countries, but when they come to Nigeria, they run it without anybody threatening them. What's your reaction based on this, their own move and their own intentions in the first instance? Because let me just finish on this. 50% increase. You talked about MTN now. MTN from 2,000 naira, 15 gigs to 6,000. That's 150% if we are being sincere. Whereas the approval is 50%. So what's your take on this?
Well, I can't really blame it on the telcos, because the point is, for example, if I am a businessman and there's a particular commodity, if I buy it at the rate of 50,000 naira, and the import duty the government gives to me is about maybe 15% of that amount. Now, on the same good, the government is now giving me an import duty of 30%. So the question is, as a businessman, how do you want me to survive? How do you still want me to successfully run my business without, trying to, add this thing, maybe shifting it in one way or the other to the consumers? So I think it was a consensus between the federal government. Maybe they have been overtaxed, and they've seen it. How is it possible for us to continue running? So this is the proposal we are coming up with. Okay, federal governments, we are not saying that okay, the tax you ask us to pay, we are not going to pay, but
we have to increase.
Yes, we have to increase our tariff, and this is what we are proposing. Okay, and
the government want their dividend.
Okay, you are right, but don't you think 100% is much? Okay, we can approve 50 for you. So that means the policy of the federal government antedated what the telcos are doing.
Yeah.
So if they have not been overtaxed or overburdened with tax, there wouldn't have been any way. It will take toll on the final consumer.
Yeah, but
so we should look at it from that part. Now, when you are talking about maybe some capitalism and that, it has to do also with the consumer protection laws agency. Now, I remember that time where only few, the cream de la cream of the society, they are the only ones that could afford the MTN SIM there. But when Adenuga came on board, so the monopoly was broken.
Totally
all right.
broken.
So we discovered that there are some monopolies. We have many monopolies in this country.
Monopolistic businessmen.
Yes, they just want to have their way. They don't want to have rivals. All right. Imagine if we have quite a number of people. I know we have many Nigerians who are very rich, even to the point of being able to build a refinery. But why is it that only few, just like a clan? So just let people, if more people come into, into this business, competition.
Yeah.
So nobody will just say, okay, I remember a time when the DSTV, they increased their tariff on GoTV. Nigeria said they wanted to be using a SLTV then. They wanted to boycott.
Way before that time, we used to have ITV at a particular time in Nigeria.
It was then, after the uproar, it was stable at the floor of the Senate. That was when they had to just backtrack on their initial decision to just skyrocket that price. So for one, I think it still has to do with the federal government.
Yeah.
Federal government is the main culprit in this, if we are not going to be mistaken. So I am working on, like you provide the environment in which I am working, and you overburden me with tax. Where am I going to buy it? A man was caught on camera saying, okay, the import duty from the custom is maybe over 200% of what you used to pay. That
the buyers go suffer am now.
God bless you.
Now the buyers go suffer am.
He's not even afraid.
He go put am on top the goods. I'll get my money back.
That will suffer. I will get my money back. So what are we now talking about?
So so it looks like this loggerheads is between the government and the youth. So what do you think? What measures do you think that the youth of this country can take against the government, or for the government to consider that this is actually suppressing and it is actually weighing a lot of youths down, because this will affect employment, even if for self-employment and the rest of the things.
Yeah, self-employment.
You said something about the fact that Nigerians accept anything that comes their way, and in less than no time this is going to die down. What can they do for this thing not just to die down, for them not just to accept this situation, but to forge ahead to make this come to an end?
I would have loved the youth to do something. But in all fairness, no matter what the youth intend to do, I don't see it coming to fruition. Reason being that we have also some youths. Now, if some youths are having a positive mind, they're positive minded, so to say, that this is what we want to do. We want to make our plight known to the government that what they are doing is not good. So the same government will employ another youth. So that is when you see anti and pro. All right. So this is what we call divide and rule. In a situation whereby I said I'm displeased with what the government is saying, and not that when you get to the, for example, when you get to the fuel station, you are going to buy your own fuel at a lesser price. But when I'm saying, okay, if I'm fighting for both of us. But instead of you to support, you say no, the government is still doing. Now you'll be comparing Nigeria with other countries of the world. All right, that's okay. Nigeria, even fuel is even cheap in Nigeria. So I think the only thing we can do, Nigerian leaders, they don't take us,
seriously.
They don't take us serious. They felt that, online ranting can only do little. All right. But then we are in a country, even though the youth want to go out to protest has almost been criminalized.
Yes.
All right. So when you protest, there's every probability of you being arrested, and they will charge you for insurrection, trying to overthrow a government. We saw what happened during the bad governance protest.
Yes.
So it's just like we have a government that has captured the whole system. Like, even though decent voices now have been silent. The back and forth in courts.
Yeah, I know the back and forth in courts, but I was trying to just bring this to notion, to the fact that I feel protests can take different forms, majorly because I used to be a protester, a very strong protester from school. I was a unionist and all that, and many times one of the things I've discovered is, look at the NSAS protest. I wish I could share many pictures being on the field protesting, even with cameras and all that, but the thing is, I begin to discover that you are the one that knows your intention on the protest ground. Not you don't know the intention of the next person beside you. Many of the times when violence starts, you will be shocked that even the person beside you is a perpetrator too as well. And there is this thing called masters of these guys. They just come within the protest ground and you think we are together, but you have to be careful. So that's insensitivity. So I feel there are other strategies to make your views known to your leader. There are many ways. Don't you think Nigerian you should begin to think creatively for things like this to make their points known. I was viewing the statement of somebody on social media recently, and he said, rather than protest straight to your federal government, you have House of Rep members, right? You have senators around you. They are majorly closer to you. They are even the ones that have the power to put pressure on the executives. Why not take your protest to them? Make them know how displeased you are, and send them
send a message
through them to the president himself, and maybe him you understand most of these things, because strategies, the world is, we will keep making this conversation of zone 2, zone 1, and zone 2, zone 1 will always exist in a democracy. So what's your take on this?
All right, thank you very much. I don't know, maybe you are talking about different senators from the one we have. No, same senators thinking on your mandate will stand.
Is that
well?
Now, in a democratic setting, all right, there's something we call separation of powers, all right. But when we have a National Assembly that has become the appendage of the executive, little or nothing can be done. Now, take for example, we have seen instances whereby if a senator tries to, you know, have a divergent view from his colleagues on the floor of the house, they will see him as an alien. They will see him as a mole or as an enemy. We knew what happened to this senator that was suspended for a few months. I've forgotten the name now. One senator from the northern side.
Or what's his name?
Senator Ningi.
Yeah.
You knew what happened. What did he say? They said, okay, the people are suffering. Now the point is, what are our, you know, representatives doing? What are our representatives doing? Because the core function of the government is protection of life and properties. But when you are putting me on a pedestal where I might end up losing my life, that means you are no longer protecting me. So it's all about their interests. For example, if I say, okay, if I confront my, all right, if I reach out to my rep, the rep covering my constituency now, all right, this is what we want. This is what we want to present on the floor of the. Then, it is one thing for a senator to present something, maybe sponsor something in form of a bill. It is another thing for the bill to be overruled, so long it threatens the interests of the creme de la creme in power, the so-called cabals. This is what. Now the point is, listen. I know we have some of our reps who are trying to sponsor some bills to alleviate poverty for the masses. I think I can mention one or two. But then I discovered that some of these bills, they can take forever before they are implemented. But then, if it has to do with increment of salary for political office holders, within 24 hours, a bill can be passed.
If
it has to do with changing of national anthem, that add nothing to, I mean, that add
value to
nothing.
the economy.
It doesn't reduce the price of commodities in the market. It takes less than 7 hours before it was passed.
Yes.
All right. So what are we now talking about? I agree with you that there are other channels, but the point is, see, somebody who is not ready to hear, you too, you will not, you will stop at nothing, not to keep quiet. You will keep hearing your opinion. That is what you want. And I think the reason why the government is trying to criminalize protest, you discover that you're tracing it to way back from 2004, 2015. This government came into power through protests. I remember occupying Nigeria. But now they are trying to put fear in the heart of people. Josh, I stand to be correct, but I still want to say protest is still the best way. They know it's the best way. That's why they're trying to silence distant voices. All right. Now, if an average analyst goes to a TV station and trying to say something, you know, there are some man that they will try to be censoring some things you say.
No, naturally,
because they believe, hey, NBS.
No, it's even not just NBS. Actually, there are some. No matter, maybe I learned that in from was that NCCF? Yes, NCCF. They said you can actually make your points known without necessarily hurting personalities. So sometimes some statements, no matter how much you are releasing, there are some statements that should be said, because you know government in Nigeria could be governance, politics in Nigeria can be very biased power. someone made a statement recently and said, have you observed that if this person from this region is the president today, the people of this region are always uncomfortable, then the person from this region is the president today, the person from the other region are always uncomfortable. It's just the way Nigerians are and the way things fly. We all knew 2023 could have divided the country. So many times, it's not just NBS. Many of the times, we also need to be cautious of...
The point is, you can only tell a man who is in his right frame of mind to be cautious. You cannot tell a frustrated man. Look at what played out in the court between Nnamdi Kanu and Justice. That man, you know, see the way he was eating a lawyer. You don't talk when I'm talking. So that is what a frustrated man can do. Nigeria has frustrated many. All right, people are just waiting to, you know, there's a particular TikToker, is it Seeking?
Yeah, Seeking,
used to talk to anybody, God punish you, this and that. And the first PPRO released a statement that anybody that speaks against any government, even when verbal assault, is it verbal assault or maybe the vulgar words, saying it against, has been decriminalized. It's not a criminal offense. But now people have been arrested. We have seen a situation, but somebody who is frustrated. Now there are some people who have emotional stability. You can. It doesn't matter how angry you are.
That is where we are coming to.
That is not peculiar to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Right? But at least there are some places that it's peculiar to whoever is going to be there. Because at the end of the day, no matter how frustrated we are, you don't expect my pastor now or maybe my imam to come on the podium and say some irrational statements because
he's frustrated.
He's frustrated. There are some, even the customer care agent, you know, normal Nigeria, we know that.
He has a reputation. Actually, people are looking up to him, but they have nothing to lose.
So as the media, there's something they call the social responsibility theory. We are responsible to the society. So in order to ensure that society is balanced, we must ensure that no matter how frustrated anybody is,
you always
when you get here, smile. Put your frustration aside,
pull up that cloth of frustration,
bring out the topics, bring out your matter, then be calm, chill. Look for this to solve it. But let's look at this thing now. Someone made a statement. I asked the question last week. I'm still looking for answers that is extremely satisfactory. Someone made a statement that aside from the federal government, we are very much at the mercy of business moguls in Nigeria, to a point that I remember the statement of Adegbeyeni at a particular time, the former SDP presidential candidate. He said, it could still, let's see how 2027 plays out.
Everything has started already.
It could have started. We don't know yet. We can't confirm anything yet. But he made a statement. He said, businessmen employ politicians. Politicians do the biddings of businessmen.
Yes.
And he said, Nigerians are at the mercy of business moguls. How do you see that statement particularly?
There is no business mogul in Nigeria that can operate, you know, without, outside government regulations. All right. Now, let me say invariably that they roll together. You get me? Business moguls. I think, for example, we know what played out between the NNPCL and Dangote.
Yeah, one of the messiest matters of 2025-2024.
So, if they want to shut down Dangote refinery, they know the way to go, but they're afraid of something. Dangote is one of the, being the richest man in Africa.
Yeah.
All right. Is one of the highest, the one that paid the
highest tax
in this
highest
country.
Contributors
so they don't want to. Because there are some countries waiting to receive that investment.
With open hands.
So the thing is, what I'm saying is that everything still borders on the government. There is no businessman. If they want to frustrate, if the government want to frustrate you, that's why every businessman, only few of them have the balls to confront or to challenge the policy of the government. All right? Now, during the election, anytime the presidential election is going on, you discover that many of these business moguls will sit on the fence. So it is the person that is elected they want to roll with. So we hardly see many of them coming out plainly that this is the person I want to vote for. Unlike what happened in the US. Elon Musk made it known.
Extremely known.
This is the person I'm supporting.
He even works for the government currently.
If we have many of our businessmen doing so, imagine Tony Elumelu declaring openly, I'm supporting this presidential candidate. Imagine, what's it called? Mike Adenuga, this is the person I'm supporting. Imagine Adeleke, this is the person I'm supporting. But they're just trying to, all right, because they know if anything happens, okay, if you don't support this person, if this person enters, maybe there's a license you used to operate, they can withdraw your license. And there's nothing you can do. It's the government that owns the courts. I mean, at this dispensation we are, they will frustrate you. You may want to seek redress in the court of law. Those people in the courts, they are still answerable. Because what we call the separation of power is not there. The judiciary is not independent. So I'm very sorry to say it's out there, and this is not about bad-mouthing or disparaging the reputation of an institution. The judiciary is not for the highest bidder. We knew what played out. That is just it. That is just it. So I think that if the government promulgates a regulation that is beneficial to the citizenry, all right? If they put out a regulation, I think if it is the one that is beneficial to the citizens, the business mogul that you are talking about, they will align. They have to align. So what's it called? The government cannot say, for example, private university.
Yeah.
I saw a memo.
They have increased by the NUC
from maybe 6 million to 30-something million. Now, what are they going to do? So if you cannot pay,
registration and fees,
if you cannot pay,
you go.
That is just it.
Just attend a federal university or one of those schools, or go out of the country.
That is just it. So government and business mogul, they are 5 and 6. Because every businessman will always want to protect his own interests. I want my business to boom. All right. Dangote is looking for every means not to lose his spot as the richest man in Africa, and we do everything at his disposal to align with the government in power.
Yeah, very well. We'll be back shortly to discuss more on this increased financial strain. But then we'll go to a very important segment to Daybreak Africa, a segment where you learn how to start a skill, how to start a business from scratch, how to work on your social media pages, and how to make more means of income to yourself. And that is Go Start. For now, enjoy Go Start and go nowhere.
Welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed Go Start. I hope you are inspired and motivated to do business. Like I always say, if you are very observant, things are increasing drastically, and definitely one source of income is not enough. It's not enough at all. Even the minimum wage is not everywhere it is implemented. So definitely you must ensure that you always stay guarded by ensuring that your stream of income is as high as possible. So please take the advices of Go Start and invest that little cash you have in starting up something. But we're discussing about the tariff, the data tariff hike actually, and Adegbeyeni, Abiodun is still in the studio with us. And I was trying to ask a question before you left. You said something about consumer protection, talking about the fact that we are having more poor networks, which of recent it's even been very hectic. It's something that we have been trying to make demands on most of these companies to ensure the networking is way proper. And now we are still having a data tariff hike, that is, we're paying higher prices for networks that are not really up to standard. And it's unlike our counterparts outside the country and all that. Now, don't you think even as prices are going up, the government should look for means for consumer protection, whereby even if I'm paying for something, whether a task, whether for a service, whether anything, at least my money has value. The kind of value I derive from it is something that I know that is satisfactory to a very complete extent.
Thank you very much. I think one of the major reasons the government will not see that the interest of the consumer is protected is because they are so fixated on IGR. All right. The moment revenue is being generated, HDI doesn't matter. All right. IGR is for politicians, HDI is for the people. So it doesn't matter the amounts generated, what impact does it have for the people? So sometimes when I'm speaking to some people, they will tell you that ever since the president came into power, all right, the allocation the government received, it has increased, this and that, because of the removal of fuel subsidy, we have generated more revenue. Now, what impact has the revenue has on the people? How do you develop the people? Through education, health care. Is it not shameful that a big hospital like UCH, the patients need to be coming with their solar, what's it called, solar powered bulbs to lighten up the hospital? Rooms, there is no light for more than 100 days. I read in Punch that maybe some of the students, they were protesting more than 100 days.
But Bayo Adelabo, who happens to be the minister, is from your state actually. So it's one of the things I asked myself as a question that they could demand from him. He's supposed to be a governor.
We are in the dispensation whereby the metrics for measuring the performance of a government is the amount of IGR generated.
But IGR is important.
It's important.
IGR is very important.
It's important. But IGR is not as important as FDI. It doesn't matter the amount you generate when it doesn't reflect on the people. For example, let me just say this. It's just like saying, this man is very rich. And the richness of that man does not reflect on his wife. Well, the wife is suffering. Can you just, I don't know, maybe you can see it from the point.
I haven't seen much of that scenario because I know most rich men with married women.
The point I'm coming from.
Women enjoy the money more.
So why would you tell me you are making so much money? But instead of this money to have impact, instead of you to use this money, for the people, all right, you prefer spending on frivolities. Now, what has building 21 billion apartment for a single person? I saw the uproar on social media because the USA they wanted to withdraw the aid for what is it called? HIV.
Sorry, we discussed it yesterday.
Now,
actually.
Why would you be telling me to help you solve a problem while you are living in opulence? All right. Give me your money, give me your own money, let me take care of myself while I'm using my own money to to enjoy.
Lavish.
It doesn't make sense. So the point is, even I think what the president of the US is doing, go to your country, do what is right. All right, sit tight. I know there are some of the South Africa now. I think what's the name of this man there? Malema. There's an altercation between him and Elon Musk.
Elon Musk,
all right.
Elon Musk even being South African by
South Africa. Look at it. So what is not happening? These people they are standing their ground, but we should not just be like, it doesn't matter. Even though we say we are independent country, we are sovereign nation. It's just like we still want to be subservient to all this Western, which is not good. We don't want to. All right, an average Nigerian leader can sell their people for Rolls Royce. They can sell our resources for Rolls Royce. There's a damning revelation by this top journalist, David Ikhonede, about how US government used to, paid some journalists, all right, to legalize or what happened, to make it seem like this GMO, genetically modified, all this that food, that they are very okay. All right. There's another conspiracy that they should discredit the work of that man. So what they are doing, we are going to pay you, go against your own country. So I think there was a time they contacted David Ikhonede to write an article against Dangote's refinery, because what they were trying to say, Dangote was making a kind of revelation there that the fuel, the PMS that is being imported is as a kind of way it damages the vehicle engine. All right, and Dangote was trying to tell Nigerians that his own
fuel is way up to standard.
Way up to standard. So I think that marks the beginning of the
records
between both. So I think excuse me, what I think the government should have done is this: when you ask people to, now in Nigeria, when you pay, when you send money, the government takes from you. When you receive money, the government takes from you. Now, I want to quote verbatim from the statement the Nigeria is the Immigration Service or Customs Service now that they released yesterday, that they've suspended the 4% FOB, all right, that on goods. Now, it means the 4% will be calculated based on the value of the goods, based on the cost of the goods. So because of the uproar, they have suspended it. Now they said the reason why they are charging, they are having this tariff hike is because of that they want to enhance effectiveness in running
industry.
Yes, not even telecommunication industry. They want to run the affairs of the the Nigeria Customs Service itself. So now you want to run affairs at least every year. There's a budget. Nigeria Customs Service used to present. So why do you not want to use money from? So this is what we have, This is the level we have gotten to as a nation. Even in the scripture, Pharaoh was not as wicked as the kind of leaders we have in Nigeria.
We can't say Pharaoh wasn't as wicked, because I remember at the points in the book of Genesis or so, from the holy books, I discovered that he even took their lands and houses in exchange for food. So
he didn't start today.
But the government of the day is after our life.
Well, we can't fully say that actually. But one of the things I see there is what effects do you think this is going to have generally on the youth who happens to be the general body that actually buys more data, on our effectiveness? Because many people, data, like you said, data is life to a lot of people. Data is life. Many people lives on their phones. That's where their business is. Even me myself, I'm involved in this clique, because aside from just what we do here, we're always on social media doing other stuff, working and all those kind of things. Now we're having increased prices. That means definitely many of the services we even get on social media is going to increase, because of the fact that everybody's going to factor in this as well. So it's more of a situation. What do you think is going to have as an effect both on the youth and on the country at large, especially on our inflationary figures?
Well, thank you very much. You know, the Ministry of Finance, I think the ministry made a promise that they want to achieve an inflation rate of 15%.
15% from 34%.
From 34%.
That's their 2025 target.
How is it going to be possible? You get it? When you are, we have tariff hikes here and there. But back to your question, the impact this is going to have on the youths, and you know, we have many of our youth now who are tech savvy, all right, and at most time, even all the time, they are going to need data. Now that the the price of data has increased, you would expect many of them to, all right, their activities to be lessened, and then again, we have some people over. How am I going to put it? We have some people, because they cannot afford data, they have to be begging, all right? Now, you know, normally an average person can just message you, please, can you do 1 gig for me? For example, I just need 1 gig of data. 1 gig now is a fortune, all right? You can't just say, get across to somebody, please give me 1 gig of data. I said I did 2 gig yesterday at the rate of a 780 naira. Something I used to do, 580. Just look at it. So I think, and another thing is it might render some people jobless. All right, we have some people among the youths who do remote job, and you know, most of these people, they need data. So since they cannot afford data, imagine somebody who is working. It's just like it's going to reduce functionality. So if you use 5,000 naira, you normally use the data you used to buy. You buy it at the rate of 5,000. I mean, the old data you want to use for a day. Now, since the price of data has increased, maybe you use 5,000 data for 12 hours. That means if you want to use the same 5,000 data, that is going to be 6 hours. That means productivity will decrease. All right, and then it might lead to unemployment too. That's one thing I've seen. It might lead to unemployment. Now, how will it lead to unemployment? Now, thank you very much. Now, there are some companies today that have staff who work from home, and the company, they are responsible for buying, maybe, you know, buying data for their employee. So in such a way that it has increased now. Now everybody will just try to cut their
cut down.
Cut down. What you are going to do if you are going to lay off? If it means, I mean, if maintaining the running of your business, if it entails laying off some workers, so you wouldn't hesitate to doing that. So you just have to do it. So it's going to have an adverse effect. And the point is, I said something yesterday that the only thing I'm expecting from this government is tax on the air we breathe. So maybe that will settle the matter. Maybe before you breathe in, you have to pay. You have to pay, because virtually we are paying virtually on everything.
We're paying
on everything.
So talking about the salary and wages sector, even with the increase in financial strain, the salary and wages in Nigeria remain stagnant, thereby making life and other things being affordable, no more affordable. Is there a way innovation and technology can play a role in decreasing these hikes, everyday hikes in Nigeria?
what I've noticed in this government is that when you have a government that's, you know, are so conversant with releasing press statements, most time press statements that are not true. Now, when we're talking about inflation, it is like many of commodities in the market have skyrocketed. Now, what is the actual inflation rate? All right. Before you
are you saying that the statistics is not correct, or
its inflation rate is underreported? The point is, before you seek remedy or you seek healing, you must admit the fact that you are sick. Enough of deceiving ourselves. So when we don't complain, when we don't have leaders who complain, where are we exactly? Where are we? You cannot even fathom what is wrong with you. All right. You know, it doesn't make sense for you to be using paracetamol to cure typhoid. So when the right approach to solve the problem you are facing, but we don't even know where we are. It's just like we have been taking 50 years aback. All right, there is an aphorism, Yoruba aphorism. I don't know if I'm permitted to use it. So if you cannot act to me, why not let me the way I used to be? Many people would have loved to go back. You know, just imagine, we have a tradition in Nigeria whereby the subsequent government will make the, you know, outgone government to be like hero. All right, as clueless as the last administration was. The man is turning out to be an hero. He even granted an interview that during his time the economy was booming. All right, so I think the point is, the government should look at it from this point of view. It will start from the government. Anytime the government wants to come up with a policy, at least if you are going to increase, it doesn't, increase tariff, you don't, you shouldn't make it as if you are removing the shock absorber. Just just do it in phases.
So what shock absorbers should have been put in place?
Thank you very much.
Like this,
I've always talked about a counterbalance measure. If you want to do something, it is not possible for you to want to remove your trouser and you want to remove the two legs at the same time. You will fall.
You remove one first.
One first. This is common sense. But you want to tax people across all facets. It doesn't matter. The poor are no longer breathing. So
I'm sorry to cut you there. I just remembered something, because I remember that we used to have the tax reform bill, even though the conversations around it
they are debating it. Actually,
it's still a debate, but it's down because of the northern region haven't still totally accepted it to their own selves. They are still waiting for a bit of arrangement there. Some are even calling for it to be scrapped. But if we look into it, anybody any less than 800,000 annually is not taxed. And though we know that the VAT is increased, but the VAT is not on all commodities. There are some necessities that the VAT is not on. So don't you think it's also a more creative way of taxing people other than
if the government doesn't tax you, what is the value of the money? What is the value of the 800,000? How much is a room? Self-con.
So how much something is collecting?
Something is collecting. If the government is not collecting, something is collecting. That's why I said these people, they know what they are doing.
So what do you think is the alternative way the government would have gone instead of increasing tax to ensure that we have a stable economy?
Thank you very much. I think, you know, ever since this government came into power, I have not seen a major FDI that has been attracted to this country. All right,
foreign direct investment.
Yes, you don't go out. If we have investors, all right, investors who are willing to come invest in Nigeria, at least unemployment rate will reduce. When the president of US, when he gave his acceptance, when he was inaugurated, I think UAE government, they pledged an investment of about $1 trillion. This was a man, he didn't even leave the US. But we have a government that gallivants all around, going to look for investors. When you put a honey in a particular place, all right, it is natural that ants will come. If it's a sugar, when you don't provide enabling environment. Now the point is, Nigerians are hardworking.
Yeah.
All right. But now, when you are putting up a policy in which small-scale businesses are being suffocated, people are closing down their business. How do you want them to eat? That is it. How do you want them to eat? For example, somebody who is selling something as little as a puff by the roadside. Now the price of flour in the market has skyrocketed. So the person has no option. I cannot continue with this. Now, if I'm buying something from you, for example, it is innate in man that if I come back to buy, this thing has reduced now. I don't want to buy. I will not be thinking about the seller that this woman too, when she goes to the market,
the things increase.
It has increased. So we don't want to reason. Since people don't want to reason with me, I think it's better I just that is what has happened to many of our youths. That is it. Small scale businesses. So what do you give? Are you giving them grants? Nigeria is reached to the point of giving people grants. All right. All this hiding under the guise of giving people student loan, the student loan. I can't it to me.
Or the cash transfer.
The cash transfer, conditional cash transfer. How many people receive cash transfer? I don't know if you have received yours. Maybe you've not seen
the poor of the poorest. So we don't fit
maybe we don't fit that.
Thank you very much. So
but how many poor of the poorest did you come out to say?
Some people are poor. We even still call some people poor. So about multidimensional poverty is even an understatement, you know, to be used for Nigeria.
Someone talked about food subsidies.
Okay, yeah, you said something about the revenue generated from these tariffs and hikes and the rest of the things. I want to understand it clearly. Do you mean that the government have not done anything with this revenue other than better their lives instead of using the revenues generated from tax to do things? Or what do you think the government has used the revenues generated from high tariffs taxing to do in Nigeria for the betterment of the citizens?
Thank you very much. I've always thought that our leaders, they seek public offices because of some fundamental reasons to serve and not to be served. And one of those reasons to better the life of the citizen.
Of course.
If you know you are going there not to represent the citizen, why are you going there? But the undertone behind every politician who wants to contest for an elective position is because they are going there to pack money, all right? Now, how do you justify? Listen, I am, in fairness to the government, I am not saying they are not doing anything. You get it? I am not saying they are not doing it. What I'm saying is that they are not doing anything. I mean, what they are doing is not that noticeable. I mean, it doesn't.
But there are state governors who received from them to the people according to the statement of the federal government.
Thank you very much. That's why I wanted to say something. That how do you justify using 21 billion? Vance, the vice president of US, he moved with his family to the vice presidential lodge that was there before. I mean, I didn't read online that there's a particular amount earmarked to renovate that place. So what happened? Imagine 21 billion. Now imagine the federal government spending 21 billion to power UCH. So that means we major the minor and we minor the major. So the point is, the governments, they prefer now. In fact, I don't want to say this because I'm on it. But what I want to say is this: is that the government prefers, you know, living in opulence at the expense of the majority of Nigeria. Now, what is the justification for changing SUVs every year?
Or every 2 years.
Every 2 years. What is the justification? All right. What is the justification for what is it called? For changing furnitures, for changing for allocating billions of naira to state house hospital, the state house hospital that the president cannot even receive treatment. What is the justification? What is the justification?
I think the president not being treated within some set security reasons.
Some set security. Is there no security in the villa?
That's the funny truth.
Security in the villa. We have seen ex-presidents of a country who died in a local hospital in their. You get it? You cannot tell us, like I said, if our leaders lead by example today, if they lead by example, you know, everything will fall into place. I know, I'm telling you, please, my son, just endure, just endure. He's only a wicked father that will tell the son to endure. Oh yeah, take this Gary, and the man is eating pounded yam. with what's it called? With every all these
delicacies, obstacles in the soup.
Gary comes from the same place.
But he's giving the son only Gary, but he has something to eat with the pound.
So that means definitely the cost of governance needs to come down.
Yes. You get it? If it comes down, we can be talking of reaching the threshold of our Eldorado. All right. We want to look for a leader who award contract and see to it that this contract is, you get it. I was in the midst of discussion with a brother yesterday. He said there was this contractor. I won't mention the state now. They awarded the contract and it's okay, go and bring your quotation and say this thing will cost 2 billion, a road project. And they say okay, 2 billion. Okay, just write 6 billion. Write 6 billion, but we are going to give you 2 billion. And the man said, I'm not doing it again. You can just imagine. They said they have to mark 100 billion now to do, to install solar at UCH, Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. 100 billion for that matter.
Which is not supposed to cost that
100 billion. Money. You know, we have some leaders in this country. When they become the president, you know, nobody will come to them that a snake swallow 30 million. Or somebody use maybe 160 million to cut grass.
But that's governance at almost all levels in the country, where insincere people are leading at different factors. Then if we have more insincere people at these factors, what then can the main person do himself? Himself is even at the mercy of corruption that surrounds and all of that. But let me just ask this final question briefly. Do you think that at the end of the day, like the State House of Representatives, the House of Representative members were talking about 2 days ago, they said the federal government should please try to halt the move of the data tariff hike. Do you think that is a move in the right direction? Because at the end of the day, we might still come back to data tariff hike.
Of course, it's a move in the right direction. It's a move in the right direction. At least there should be an iota of pity on the common man. All these things playing now, they are just like, onslaughts against the common man, which is not good. All right, quite all right. We have some people, many of these people, they don't even know the amount of subscription on their phone, so they don't want to know.
They hardly buy data.
They hardly buy data. Yeah. So it's only those who buy data that feels what the brunt of what we are talking about. So it's a step in the right direction, but it will only make it a whole if the decision is rescinded, is backtracked. All right, if the government can backtrack it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
we are facing problem enough already. Let the telcos improve on their bandwidth that's supposed to be maybe 100 megabytes per second or so. You'll be seeing maybe 2 kilobytes to download 2 megabyte file from the net will even be difficult. It might take forever. You have to drop your phone, maybe try to soak some Gary before the thing
gets done.
The thing will download.
This as well. Thanks so much, sir, for being
part of this
discussion. We really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
And I think it's time for sport right now. Yes, it's time for sport actually. But before we say sport, this period is going to be a period whereby we just need to just buckle up and just be very, very alert. Maybe things might change, maybe things won't change, maybe people will get adjusted to the old things, maybe the federal government will do the right thing. We will still be bringing you more details on this. Once again, thanks so much Adegbeyeni, Abiodun, for being a part of this discussion. But now it's time to go for sports. I hope you're enjoying this segment. I will enjoy the sports segment. Maybe Glory enjoys the sports segment too as well. But then, even though I'm enjoying it, I'll be ruminating on a lot of things as time goes by. So please stay with us, enjoy sport. When we are back, we'll say our goodbyes.
Welcome back from sport. I believe you enjoyed yourself. Sport is a very important event that Joshua doesn't mess with, and I believe you also enjoyed yourself. And today we were talking about tariff hike in telecommunication, and our guest did justice to saying a lot of things about this. And you can imagine that even with the increase in tariff and all the rest of things, salaries and wages are still stagnant, and youths are questioning the government accountability and the rest of the things. And our guest did right to mention again that government should cut down on their spendings, and we are even trying to understand, is the government doing what should be done to the economy and the country with this revenue generated from tariffs? This has been a question that youth are asking every day, and few days ago, even till today, this is still trending on the social media. And how do we curtail this? What measures should the youth take? And our guest made it known to us that he believes and feels that protest is still what we should back on. But our host also said, is there a way for a safe protest again in Nigeria? Because we all know how protest goes in Nigeria nowadays. So hopefully we will see a way around this. But before we go, we'll give you more updates on this as time goes on. Stay with us and stay informed. My name is Glory Emmanuel.
And my name is yours, as usual, Ikhonede Joshua Adegbeyeni. And like I always say, it's very important for everyone to ensure that we do what is right for the sake of country, for the sake of people. If you're a business person, this is not the time to think of hyper gains. It's the time to think of something that will benefit both the people and yourself, because the benefit of the people is also the benefit of your business. Like Karl Marx will say, the bourgeoisies and the proletariats. I don't need to go into that details. You already know much about the details already. And for the government, I'll pick a cue from what our guest said actually. A father who is telling his child to manage and is giving the child, gari and all that to drink, and you are eating pounded yam yourself, even though they are cut from the same coat, it's always a way of telling that child that you are a selfish father. So you must ensure that if you're trying to tell the people to bear the brunt of this particular time, you yourself try as much as possible to cut your own coats to a very large extent, so that the people can be in agreement and in alignment with your plans to ensure that your tenure is as successful as we envisaged it to be. Well then, we'll keep bringing more updates on Daybreak Africa. We are just media people, we say, and we bring conversations to your table. Till we meet tomorrow, my name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Adegbeyeni.
Bye.